All right, so are you ready to dive into Wuthering Heights?
Oh, absolutely. I've been looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it's a classic, and
A fan favorite.
yeah, for sure. I mean, love revenge and kind of the wild Yorkshire moors as a backdrop. I mean,
It's so atmospheric.
yeah. So why don't you, I guess, for those who haven't read it recently or maybe never read it, maybe you could set the stage a little bit.
Sure. So Wuthering Heights opens with our narrator, Lockwood, and he's looking for a little peace and quiet away from the city. So
Right. He rents Thrushcross Grange.
exactly. A very pleasant, well-kept estate, but of course,
He can't resist the allure of.
the more mysterious Wuthering Heights right across the moors.
So what happens when he kind of crosses that threshold, so to speak?
Well, he gets his first glimpse into this strange and unsettling household, and he meets the inhabitants, including Heathcliff, this dark, brooding figure,
Right.
and Catherine Earnshaw.
The so many secrets, right?
Layers and layers of secrets.
So how do we peel those back? Like, does Brontë give us flashbacks or?
She does, but in a clever way.
Okay.
So Lockwood gets snowed in at Wuthering Heights.
Oh no.
And while he's stuck there, he asks the housekeeper, Nellie Dean, to tell him about the family.
Ah, so Nellie becomes our guide.
Exactly. She's the one who unlocks the past for us.
Okay, so where does she start?
She takes us back to the time when Heathcliff first arrived as a young orphan brought to Wuthering Heights by Mr. Earnshaw, and right away he's an outsider.
Oh yeah, disrupting the family dynamic.
Exactly. Catherine is drawn to him. They become close, but Hindley, her brother, well, he resents Heathcliff from the start.
Oh, so we've got that classic sibling rivalry,
Oh, absolutely.
and then you add in this stranger almost, this outsider, and it
This
just
creates this really volatile mix.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Mr. Earnshaw dies.
oh, that's not good.
No, it isn't. Hindley inherits Wuthering Heights, and he makes Heathcliff's life miserable, basically treating him like a servant.
So Heathcliff goes from, almost being, a favored, child
To being completely ostracized.
yeah. So that's got to breed some resentment.
It definitely plants the seeds of revenge.
Okay.
But through all this, Catherine and Heathcliff's bond deepens even as they become aware of the social divide between them.
Right. He's not of the same class.
Exactly. And Catherine, she's torn. She loves Heathcliff, but she also desires a life of comfort and social standing.
Ah, that age-old dilemma, love versus ambition.
Exactly. And then enter Edgar Linton.
Oh, this is where it gets interesting.
So Catherine visits Thrushcross Grange. Remember, that's Lockwood's place.
Right.
And she meets Edgar and his sister Isabella. They represent everything that Heathcliff doesn't. They're elegant, sophisticated, and well-respected.
So she's got a choice to make: the wild, passionate Heathcliff.
Or the refined, socially acceptable Edgar.
Oh, this is a good one.
It is, and it's a choice that has repercussions for everyone involved.
Ooh, I'm hooked already. So what does she do?
Well, she chooses
Oh, wow. So she goes for security and status over.
over true love.
Yeah.
And Heathcliff, well, he's devastated.
I can only imagine.
He vanishes for 3 years.
Oh, really?
Nobody knows where he goes, but when he returns,
Yeah.
he's a changed man.
In what way?
He's polished, sophisticated, and wealthy.
So he's come into some money.
He has, and he's not back just to win Catherine back. He's back for revenge.
Oh, boy. So this is where things get dark.
This is where things get very dark.
So what's his plan?
Well, first he targets Hindley, who's fallen into despair and alcoholism, and he uses Hindley's weakness to win Wuthering Heights from him.
Gambling, I bet.
You got it, gambling debts.
Oh, Hindley.
But Heathcliff isn't finished. He sets his sights on Isabella Linton, Edgar's sister,
Oh, no.
and he marries her.
But not for love, I'm guessing.
No, not at all. It's just another way for him to hurt those who've wronged him.
So everyone's getting caught in the crossfire.
Everyone, and Catherine, well, she's trapped in her loveless marriage, still yearning for Heathcliff.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And their reunion is passionate, but it also leads to more heartache.
Okay. So.
Catherine falls ill and dies.
Oh, that's so sad.
It is. She leaves behind a daughter, Cathy.
So the first generation story ends in tragedy.
It does, but the story's not over.
Right, because we have the next generation.
Exactly. Now we have young Cathy growing up at Thrushcross Grange, sheltered from the darkness of Wuthering Heights. And at Wuthering Heights, Heathcliff is raising his son Linton after Isabella fled and eventually died.
So are we going to see history repeat itself?
There are definitely parallels. Cathy is curious and spirited like her mother, and she's drawn to the forbidden world of Wuthering Heights and to Linton.
But with Heathcliff lurking in the background.
Always lurking, he sees Linton as a way to gain control of Thrushcross Grange.
So the game continues.
It does. Edgar tries to protect Cathy by forbidding her from seeing Linton.
But we all know how that goes.
Forbidden love rarely stays forbidden. They begin exchanging letters secretly through Nellie.
The housekeeper.
The very same.
So Heathcliff finds out.
Of course he does. He's always one step ahead, and he uses this knowledge to his advantage.
How so?
He forces Cathy and Linton to visit Wuthering Heights and basically holds them hostage until Cathy agrees to marry Linton.
Wow, that's ruthless.
Heathcliff is nothing if not ruthless.
So love becomes a weapon again.
It does, and tragedy strikes again. Edgar dies heartbroken and unable to protect his daughter, and soon after the marriage, Linton dies as well, leaving Cathy trapped at Wuthering Heights with Heathcliff.
So he finally has his revenge. He controls both estates.
He does, but at a terrible cost.
I bet he's miserable.
He treats Cathy, cruelly reducing her to a servant. He's surrounded by misery, a testament to the destructive power of his obsession.
So he wins, but loses everything in the process.
Exactly. He becomes a prisoner of his own making, haunted by Catherine's memory, unable to escape the darkness he's created.
So is there any hope at all in this story?
Well, there might be a glimmer. Remember Hareton Earnshaw, Hindley's son?
Oh, right, the one Heathcliff raised.
Yes, and he treated Hareton just as badly as he was treated.
But Cathy and Hareton, they find solace in each other.
They do, despite their circumstances, and Cathy starts teaching Hareton to read, opening up a world that Heathcliff had denied him.
So maybe there's a chance for them to break the cycle.
It's a possibility, but remember, Heathcliff is still a powerful presence, and the past casts a long shadow over Wuthering Heights.
So what happens next? Does love prevail?
Well, it's a complicated situation, you see, as Cathy and Hareton grow closer. Heathcliff, he kind of retreats further into himself.
So he doesn't try to stop them or anything?
No, he seems almost indifferent to their relationship. He's consumed by his own grief and regret. He's obsessed with Catherine's memory.
Even though she's been gone for so long?
Yeah, and it's like he can't let go of the past. He starts talking to her ghost, wandering the moors. It's like he's lost touch with reality.
So he's created this world of pain, and now he's trapped in it.
Exactly, and it eventually consumes him one morning. Heathcliff is found dead in his room.
Oh, wow. So after all that revenge and manipulation, he just...
It's almost like he finally found peace, or maybe he chose to join Catherine in death. It's left open to interpretation.
It's a fittingly ambiguous ending for such a complex character.
It is.
So with Heathcliff gone, what happens to everyone else? Does Wuthering Heights finally find some peace?
Well, with Heathcliff out of the picture, Cathy and Hareton are free to be together. They inherit both Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange.
So the two estates are united.
Exactly. It's like a symbolic merging of those two worlds that were always at odds.
So do they get a happy ending?
The novel ends on a note of hope. They plan to marry and make a life together, but there's also a sense that the past can't be completely erased. The wounds run deep.
It's a bittersweet ending.
It is. It's a reminder that even though love and forgiveness can heal, there are always scars.
It's been a fascinating journey through Wuthering Heights.
I agree. It's a story that stays with you long after you finish reading it.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes you think about the choices we make, the consequences of our actions, and the enduring power of love and revenge.
And the power of the past to shape our present.
Exactly. Well, listener, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into Wuthering Heights. If you haven't read it yet, we highly recommend it. It's a classic for a reason.
It's a must-read.
Yeah, and even if you have read it, it's worth revisiting. There's always something new to discover in Emily Bronte's masterpiece.
Absolutely happy reading.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.